Hey guys, Dylan Tommy here. I'm gonna check out the Paludarium tonight. Got a lot of positive feedback about this build, and just gonna update it. Even though there's not so much to update, like I told you, I'm kind of just letting a lot of the microorganisms grow out and let this tank establish, you know, much like an aquarium. The water feature part most definitely needs to establish, even though it's getting there. It seems every time I show it, I've already stirred it up, but it's very clear. I like that I can kind of see debris and see things on the rocks straight and still have clear water. It just shows me that, you know, the cycle's finally taken hold, and I got some beneficial bacteria, you know, competing with all the excess in the tank. But here it is, it's growing out. All the plants that I've added have survived, actually doing well. They're kind of just still adjusting to living on the face. And they're all true epiphytes, the bromeliads and the baby tears here. Another thing I should mention is I spent a lot of time adding Java moss, which I've had in a lot of my aquariums, to this face, just so I can create a system of water movement around this face. Because like I said, eventually you see all these cracks and crevices, they'll be planted with other epiphytes that can kind of just grow here on the scape. But as you can see, kind of all this Java moss, you know, draped everywhere. And it's doing an okay job at acclimating to, you know, a terrestrial life living on this rockscape. But it's wet for the most part. I got a lot of wet sphagnum, dead sphagnum here, which it uses as a water source. And this is just pretty much media for whatever moss is or whatever plants I choose to grow on here. But I just started with some of the Java moss just because I had it, and we got to get things growing. It adds to like I said, all the microorganisms that's growing in here. Let me kind of show you what I have with the Java moss and how I've been keeping it wet. We haven't come in here yet, have we? And inside this scape here, I have pools, and they're drained now. But what will happen is the Java moss will pull the water out of these pools and, you know, just distribute it out throughout the face. They're not filled up right now because everything's just flowing. And that's kind of what I wanted. I didn't want a heavy drip effect. I wanted everything to just be sustained, wet all the time, and have the ability to dry out too. These are, you know, fairly powerful lights. It's pretty warm in this tank right now. I know this thermometer is saying 70, 78. So yeah, we're cranking in there. It's a tropical zone. And like I said, the plants have you know, all survived. You know, they're acclimating, like I said, to these new conditions. This thing right here, I kind of planted it away from the light so I could kind of watch it bend towards the light, and it actually has several smaller little plants growing off of it. So as soon as that plant roots itself, we'll see it kind of sprout out of there. This little planter here is actually a very deep pot, and it has lots of soil that goes back into that, so they have a good medium, a good substrate to grow those plants in. So I expect to see those baby tears and that plant in particular really take off. But yeah, the update is the Java moss. Like I said, I've draped it all over everything, and it just connects with every bit of piece, and it stays wet. You know, it just allows the entire face to always be wet. And the sphagnum does a great job at you know, staying moist all the time. But the sphagnum's dead. You know, I need a living organism to thrive on there. And I will likely try some other mosses, see what else I can get grow on here, and see if the Java moss will thrive. But it's been pretty cool so far. Let me see if I can get down in here. I haven't really showed you guys this other side because it's difficult to film if I'm not in the tank. But that part of the scape extends out a bit and behind, and there's other pools down there for water to kind of pool in. But this is week 2, and the truth is that the Paludarium has had the most attention out of all my plants in the last month or so, in all my tanks. So why not? Let's check it out. You guys all thought it was a cool build, so there's the Paludarium. We're trying to get it growing. And the water feature, I mean, I'm completely stoked about that. I mean, this seems to be the easiest part, is getting this water to stabilize. I told you that I have a nice pump on there that's moving a lot of water. And if you look right here, this overhang, this flat piece of slate, is actually where the output is. If you look, you can kind of see the movement in the water from where the outflow is coming out. And it creates a pretty good circulation in the water feature. I have rocks kind of stacked up on this side, and there's tons of stones and rocks and media, and you know, behind this scape here, behind the plants, and kind of behind this backdrop is where the filtration is, and it's just loaded with fluvial sponges and fluvial media, and it's moving water throughout this system. But I do like the way that I slowed down the drip just by adding Java moss to you know, the face itself, because it kind of just distributes all the water, you know, throughout the tank. And I'd like to see it grow. Like I said, I've never really experimented with it, you know, on a terrestrial habitat, but it is an epiphyte, so it should be able to grow on this as long as I keep it fairly wet, fairly moist, and as long as it acclimates, because it has come out of fish tanks. But yeah, quick Paludarium update, guys. Having fun with it. Like to add some more stuff, but just going slow, letting it go, letting it grow. But really looking forward to adding all kinds of different plants to that phase. It's just going to be loaded. And the same thing with the fish. Who knows what we want to keep? I don't know if I just want to keep, you know, small little fish, or some kind of other organism, you know, either amphibious or who knows, even shrimp. So many possibilities in this hobby, guys. But I appreciate you hanging out. You guys have a good one. Tank on. Take a minute and try to give you guys a good look at the young Melamprologus burchardi fry. What I just did was feed the tank heavily with some baby brine shrimp, a product Ocean Nutrition sells. It's instant baby brine, and I've had it for a while now, and it's kind of just sat on the shelf without a real use, but I decided to use it with these burchardi fry, and they fed on it very well in the last several days. Look at them. Oh, they're so beautiful. I decided to take a good look tonight to see what I could see with the camera. Can see the parents are feeding on the baby brine too. It seems like 2 different generations. I said that in the past, and you can kind of see the larger ones and the smaller ones here. She's got such a great place set up here. It's really been hard to film these young fry because of her den here. Even some of the larger ones who decide to venture out. This guy right here on the right seems pretty big, but he just won't give me a clear shot. Here he comes. The truth is he didn't get that big by hiding. He's been out in the water column feeding before. The parents really go to town with the amount of BBA and baby brine in the water column. I see Dad back here. He's being very apprehensive because he sees me with the camera, but he's also trying to feed. Here's a little extra update, guys. With the remodel, I moved Mr. Mojo's tank right into my bedroom. I couldn't part with this tank, so he ended up in here, right next to the Mbuna. And I never thought to put a double tank in here, but I couldn't part with him. So he's in here with them. And with the scape change and the move, haven't done much with his tank, really at all. Except for add a black backdrop here. It's just a solid flat black backdrop. And Mojo is cool. I'm really stoked that I have this tank in here. I wish I would have done it sooner. It's higher. It's a little higher than the African tank. It's almost at eye level. And I love seeing him up here. I notice he's much more active. And I did kind of switch up the lighting a bit on his tank, so check him out. So happy to have Mojo in my room, and that he was not one of the fish I parted with. But just a little quick extra, guys. We got Mojo in here now, and it's cool to see him. Like I said, I think he's been much more active. And this is what his tank's looking like lately. I think I can enjoy him a little more. I mean, this is my bedroom. I often fall asleep to the Mbuna every night. So now we just got Mo in here too. And he deserves it, like I've always said. He's got a special little place in my heart because his circumstances and, you know, just the length amount of time that I've had him. He's certainly a survivor. At one point I picked him up off the floor and plopped him back in the tank. I'm so glad to still have this dude. There's a quick extra for you guys. He actually has some red cherry shrimp living in here too. The system looks good, it really does. It could use a trimming, and I will do it eventually. But just to have Mojo in a different spot, really cool. Look at him, that's how this fish behaves. He just lounges around wherever he is, whether it's up in the foliage, high in the water column, or down here on the substrate. He just lounges, almost like playing possum. He's really funky, but he's a really awesome fish. And like I said, happy to have him right here. Cool looking scape at eye level, and right next to the Mbuna. Well, thanks for hanging out tonight, guys. I'll keep you updated with Natural Aquatics. We're just cruising. Grateful for all the growth and all the inhabitants and all the fish keeping friends. You guys have nothing but my extreme respect and gratitude. Tank on.